as far as mortgages go. So the Freddie Mac yield this week on Thursday, the average interest rate, not the yield, the average interest rate for a survey of 125 lenders across the country. Now this is on a purchase loan at $200,000 with 20% down and a 760 FICO score. So it's a mythical buyer. And that buyer paid on average 4.45% with a half point. Now when you call your local lender, they're not going to get that quote. Because most of the time we're not quoting a half point. Our prices are much higher than that. And people don't like paying points because it's not really a great investment. So, don't expect 4.45, expect slightly more. Plus your buyer probably has a ward or two on their credit or something. Speaking of warts or twos on their credit, very interesting news on delinquencies. 2018 is the lowest on record for delinquencies. So that is, well, the record only goes back to 2000. But still, it's been a good year for delinquencies. There aren't very many of them. However, November ticked up, or December was a tick up from November. So there's a little bit more delinquency activity. But experts say that's because of seasonality. As far as home sales go, the statistics came out today that December home sales were down 10% from a year ago, which is not great. We don't like to see home sales down a little bit. But also inventories were down. So we're down from 3.9 months average to 3.7 months average, and prices were still up on average. This is a national, 2.9%. So supply remains an issue. So we might have fewer home buyers, we might have fewer people buying houses, but it looks like we still have fewer listings, and supply and demand. The supply is part of the equation as far as that goes as well. The other thing affecting the economy is the government shutdown. We got 800,000 people who are suddenly unemployed. Well, they're employed, they're just not getting paid. So don't fly. I love y'all, and I want you safe. It's going to be real dangerous as these guys sitting in the flight towers start getting sick and tired of working for free, and they start going home early because it's going to be dangerous. So please don't fly. But other than that, have a fantastic weekend.
How many of you have flight plans from now to March and like going, thanks, Brett. Thank you, Brett. We appreciate it. So encouraging. I don't know about you. I work for a local escrow company, and I want to pass this on to you because as a piece of encouragement, during the holidays and after the holidays, it takes a little time to get our industry ramped up, and sometimes things really start getting moving in February. But I want to tell you that for our office, things really got moving 2 weeks ago. We saw a lot of new escrow openings. That means there's business out there, and all that means is that we need to get out there and grab it. Would you agree? It's going to be a good year, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get a piece of that action and help people transition in their home ownership. Thanks again, Brett. We appreciate that. As I promised, I didn't set my screen would go blank. There it is. We do have a listing showcase here each week, and we're going to step right into that. We do have one listing on today, one brave soul to make that happen for you all. So you can come into eggs and, more importantly, bacon. Any bacon lovers out there? Can I hear it? Yeah? All right, eggs, bacon, and all the good stuff here for you guys. Was brought to you today in part by our breakfast sponsor. They too are great sponsors and supporters of the West End real estate professional. And Mo is just a great friend of our industry. I want you to join me in a warm welcome to today's breakfast sponsor from the Lewis Group of Companies, Mo Captillo. Good morning.
Thank you again, Kevin, and thank you, Werep. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. It's a tremendous honor to be here on behalf of the Lewis Company. My role is to introduce you to our Lewis communities and show you the numerous earning opportunities we have available at each of them. Communities like Park Place in Ontario Ranch, with prices starting in the 400,000s, and where we offer 8 active neighborhoods and 4 new neighborhoods coming later this year, one of which includes single-story homes. The Preserve at Chino, where new neighborhoods are also coming later this year, and where pricing starts in the 400,000s. Shady Trails in North Fontana, of which feature single, 2-story, and next-gen homes. Plus, the eagerly awaited resort in Rancho Cucamonga is scheduled to open later this year. The resort will feature 5 new neighborhoods ranging from single-family detached homes, 3-story townhomes, luxury single-level condos that are elevator-served, plus bungalow-style homes similar to what you can find at the Rowan Bungalows by Vanderbilt and Rancho Cucamonga. We're also proud to introduce our newest additions to the Lewis apartment communities being Santa Barbara and Chino Hills and Discovery Village at Home Community at the Preserve. Also, as an added benefit for joining us today, we've invited some of our valued guest builders to share more about their collections and show you how you can start earning at each of them. They will be along the corridor from where you entered, and we invite you to visit with them at the end of today's special event. We will also have our Planned Communities team available to share more about our entire family of planned communities and the beautiful amenities each one offers. They'll also have interest list information for the resort. Our Lewis Apartment Communities team is also here. They will share more details about Santa Barbara and Chino Hills, the Discovery Village at Homecoming at the Preserve, as well as provide broker referral guides that will walk you through the process of how you can start earning up to 6% on your Lewis Apartment Community referrals. You will also find these guides on your tables, along with some additional promotional information we hope you'll also find of value. Lastly, I'd like to invite you to visit lewisbroker.com, where you'll be able to register to be informed about current and upcoming communities, along with being invited to special events we have planned throughout the year. In the meantime, we'd like to thank you for your continued support, and we look forward to partnering with you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mo. We appreciate that very much. Appreciate the Lewis Group of Companies' support for today's breakfast sponsor. If you want to be a breakfast sponsor, see me after the meeting, give me a business card. We have a breakfast sponsorship opportunity where you can come up and share information about you and your company. Just bring me your business card after the meeting. We'll get that set up for you. Before we move on to our guest speaker, I wanted to ask that if you have an open chair at your table, if you could raise your hand. We do have people standing around these sides here down the hall. I see 1, 2, 3. 3 open chairs. I want to see a stampede. Let's go, people. And I'm trying to keep the aisles open for fire safety purposes, but let's see if I can sneak some chairs out. All right, without further ado, I want to give you a little information on our guest speaker today. I think that it is no new news to you, but I want to share some history in the bio on Mr. Randall Lewis. With over 40 years' experience in the real estate industry, Randall Lewis is Executive Vice President. Let me see if I'm changing this. Sorry, hold on. There we go. Executive Vice President and Principal of Lewis Management Corporation, a member of the Lewis Group of Companies. Randall oversees the marketing activities for all regions of the organization. His broad areas of expertise include land acquisition, market research, product design, advertising, and sales. Randall is an active philanthropist. I can't do it. It's not philanthropist, though. Philanthropic. Supporter. Philanthropic. Are you smarter than a realtor? No, I am not. Thank you, realtor. I'm only an escrow. We need calculators. Thank you. Philanthropic is the word of the day. Please share it with your children. Supporter of the arts, education, and health. He is the co-chair of the San Bernardino County Alliance for Education and serves on several executive boards, including the USC Price School of Public Policy, the UCLA Luskin School of Public Affairs. Randall also serves on the executive board of the Southern California Association of Governments, as well as the Southern California Leadership Council. Randall is a past trustee of the Urban Land Institute, as well as a current governor of the Urban Land Institute Foundation. Recognizing his hard work and dedication to the community, Randall has received numerous prestigious awards, including the 2014 Southern California Association of Governments President's Award for Sustainability Leader of the Year and the 2014 Urban Land Institute's Bob Santos Industry Leadership Award in Sustainability Community Development. I can say all of that. Tongue twister. Randall and his wife, Janelle, did I pronounce that properly? Thank you. Sponsor the Randall Lewis Health Policy Fellowship, and he is heavily involved in the Healthy Cities movement in the Inland Empire. How did I do? Is that all right? Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a warm welcome for Mr. Randall Lewis.
Thank you for that great introduction response. I'm really happy to be here. This is my favorite presentation of the year. I probably do 15 or 20 presentations every year. This is the one I look forward to the most, and it's the one I work the hardest on. My wife and I were on a vacation. We went to Saudi Arabia last week for 7 days, and every night I read Wall Street Journals and Financial Times trying to get to things. What could I say to Werep? So I worked hard on this one. What I'm going to do this year is what I do almost every year, and that is I'm going to just talk about what happened last year, talk about some of the things we did as a company, talk about some of the things we're going to be doing next year as a this year as a company. It's 2019 already, and then also just give a couple thoughts on where the future's going. For those of you looking for some big idea at the end, it does not exist. The answer is nobody knows what's going to happen to the economy. And I bet I read 50 forecasts in the last week saying where are interest rates going, where are home sales going, and they're just split. The answer is nobody knows. So now you can relax. There's not going to be a good answer at the end, other than I think it's going to be a really good 6 months, and we just have to play it by ear after that, but nobody really knows. And I'd like to say special recognition to the elected officials here. California is such a difficult place, and so many of the communities are such a difficult place to do work. So Mike, thank you for being here. Bill, congratulations on Upland. Bill, congratulations on Montclair and all you guys have done and all your work with the Realtor Association. And Norma did not make it, but Norma has really been good for the housing industry. So support good leaders. We need them so much. Thank you. So in terms of 2018 really was a good year for everybody. It was a year where interest rates were good, where job formations were good, where consumer confidence was good. It was really a good year. We found that in our planned communities we had very strong sales. Our apartment communities and everybody else's are running 95, 96%. The retail industry is going through just chaos, as I say every year, but most of the centers, if someone would close, a new tenant would come in. And the industrial market is very good, bringing a lot of jobs to this area. So 2018 really was a very good year. For our company, 2018 was the second best year in the history of the Lewis Company. That's over 16 years. We opened a lot of new projects, and one that we're proud of just down the street at Baseline in Day Creek, we opened a new Stater Brothers Center. It's and I don't know how many of you have been there, but it's not your grandmother's Stater Brothers. Stater Brothers has really changed. It's a very different store. All that they've been known for, it still remains, but they've made a lot of changes and improvements. So stop by the new Stater Brothers. It's doing great, and it's a beautiful shopping center. For 2019, I just don't know where it's going to go. As I said, looking at all these forecasts, people are really split. If you ask me what I think is going to happen, is that we probably are going to have a good 6 months. But there is so much bad news, I'll get into some of that later, whether it's China or the shutdown or other stuff, that it's going to be a time we've got to be careful. Because I think we're going to all do really well for 5 months, 6 months, hopefully 10 months. But sooner or later, the world's going to turn. So I think overall it's going to be a pretty good year. What we saw at the end of last year, though, which is one of the storm clouds I'm worried about, was we saw in the new home market, I don't know how much it affected the resale market, but it really slowed down, and there are debates that it slowed down in August or September or October. But it's like someone flipped a switch, and we really noticed that at the new home communities. That just the traffic was down and the interest level was down. And I think it was a combination of things. There's not one reason. It wasn't interest rates. Interest rates are fantastic. And whether they're 5 or 4 3/4 or 4.5, historically, these are great interest rates. It wasn't that. I think it was just first the Chinese market. We saw in a lot of the communities, the Chinese didn't stop, but they sure slowed down looking and buying. We saw the investor market slow down quite a bit. And we saw that there was a buildup of inventory. So there were a lot of storm clouds that I think started showing in 2018. Preliminarily in 2019, there's been some really good renewed interest, and I think we heard that earlier in some of the escrow offices. So I'm optimistic, but that's what happened at the end of 2018, which was not a good thing for anybody. Ontario Airport continued to grow, and we're seeing that our apartment communities, our shopping centers, and also our new home communities. The Ontario Airport is a huge economic engine for all of us. And so get to know more what's going on there, who's opening up there, and what businesses are coming because of the airport. It's a great engine for all of us. It's going to provide a lot of jobs. And I think that's going to be, the Ontario story is just going to get better and better in the future. We're also seeing some interesting retail concepts coming to this area. We're going to be seeing more food halls coming here. There's one in Riverside that opened that's really doing well, and it's a great place to visit. One's going to come to Rancho Cucamonga and Haven soon. We're seeing more craft breweries coming here. We're seeing a lot more services coming here in the shopping centers. And we're seeing, of course, more craft, the beer places, the wine places. So I think some really neat retail concepts are going to be coming here. And that's going to be good for your home buyers, our renters, because they're going to increase the quality of life as some of these neat shopping projects come here. You're going to see a real move towards density. And nobody wants density. No one says, I want a 22-acre condo. They want what the 22-acre condo will be, which might be an affordable price or a lifestyle. But you're going to see a lot of density coming here. Van Dale and Horton both open projects. Van Dale's on Haven, Horton's on Day Creek. And they've got great communities, they're priced right, and they're selling well. And I think you're going to see more and more of that density. What we've seen a lot of was there was a move to tailored response. I'm really happy to be here. This is my favorite presentation of the year. I probably do 15 or 20 presentations every year. This is the one I look forward to the most, and it's the one I work the hardest on. My wife and I were on a vacation. We went to Saudi Arabia last week for 7 days. And every night I read Wall Street Journals and Financial Times trying to get to things. What could I say to Werep? So I worked hard on this one. What I'm going to do this year is what I do almost every year. And that is I'm going to just talk about what happened last year. Talk about some of the things we did as a company. Talk about some of the things we're going to be doing next year as a company. This year as a company. It's 2019 already. And then also just give a couple thoughts on where the future's going. For those of you looking for some big idea at the end, it does not exist. The answer is nobody knows what's going to happen to the economy. And I bet I read 50 forecasts in the last week saying where are interest rates going, where are home sales going, and they're just split. The answer is nobody knows. So now you can relax. There's not going to be a good answer at the end, other than I think it's going to be a really good 6 months, and we just have to play it by ear after that, but nobody really knows. And I'd like to say special recognition to the elected officials here. California is such a difficult place, and so many of the communities are such a difficult place to do work. So Mike, thank you for being here. Bill, congratulations on Upland. Bill, congratulations on Montclair and all you guys have done and all your work with the Realtor Association. And Norma did not make it, but Norma has really been good for the housing industry. So support good leaders. We need them so much. Thank you. So in terms of 2018 really was a good year for everybody. It was a year where interest rates were good, where job formations were good, where consumer confidence was good. It was really a good year. We found that in our planned communities, we had very strong sales. Our apartment communities and everybody else's are running 95, 96%. The retail industry is going through just chaos, as I say every year, but most of the centers, if someone would close, a new tenant would come in. And the industrial market is very good, bringing a lot of jobs to this area. So 2018 really was a very good year. For our company, 2018 was the second best year in the history of the Lewis Companies. That's over 6 years. We opened a lot of new projects. And one that we're proud of, just down the street at Baseline in Day Creek, we opened a new Stater Brothers Center. It's on a great store. And I don't know how many of you have been there, but it's not your grandmother's Stater Brothers. Stater Brothers has really changed. It's a very different store. All that they've been known for, it still remains, but they've made a lot of changes and improvements. So stop by the new Stater Brothers. It's doing great, and it's a beautiful shopping center. For 2019, I just don't know where it's going to go. As I said, looking at all these forecasts, people are really split. If you ask me what I think is going to happen, is that we probably are going to have a good 6 months. But there is so much bad news, I'll get into some of that later, whether it's China or the shutdown or other stuff, that it's going to be a time we've got to be careful. Because I think we're going to all do really well for 5 months, 6 months, hopefully 10 months. But sooner or later, the world's going to turn. So I think overall it's going to be a pretty good year. What we saw at the end of last year, though, which is one of the storm clouds I'm worried about, was we saw in the new home market, I don't know how much it affected the resale market, but it really slowed down, and there are debates, did it slow down in August or September or October? But it's like someone flipped a switch, and we really noticed that at the new home communities, that just the traffic was down and the interest level was down. And I think it was a combination of things. There's not one reason. It wasn't interest rates. Interest rates are fantastic, and whether they're 5 or 4 3/4 or 4.5, historically, these are great interest rates. It wasn't that. I think it was just first the Chinese market. We saw in a lot of the communities, the Chinese didn't stop, but they sure slowed down looking and buying. We saw the investor market slow down quite a bit, and we saw that there was a buildup of inventory. So there were a lot of storm clouds that I think started showing in 2018. Preliminarily in 2019, there's been some really good renewed interest, and I think we heard that earlier in some of the escrow offices. So I'm optimistic, but that's what happened at the end of 2018, which was not a good thing for anybody. Ontario Airport continued to grow, and we're seeing that our apartment communities, our shopping centers, and also our new home communities. The Ontario Airport is a huge economic engine for all of us. And so get to know more what's going on there, who's opening up there, and what businesses are coming because of the airport. It's a great engine for all of us. It's going to provide a lot of jobs. And I think that's going to be, the Ontario story is just going to get better and better in the future. We're also seeing some interesting retail concepts coming to this area. We're going to be seeing more food halls coming here. There's one in Riverside that opened that's really doing well, and it's a great place to visit. One's going to come to Rancho Cucamonga and Haven soon. We're seeing more craft breweries coming here. We're seeing a lot more services coming here in the shopping centers. And we're seeing, of course, more craft, the beer places, the wine places. So I think some really neat retail concepts are going to be coming here. And that's going to be good for your home buyers, our renters, because they're going to increase the quality of life as some of these neat shopping projects come here. You're going to see a real move towards density. And nobody wants density. No one says, I want a 22-acre condo. They want what the 22-acre condo will be, which might be an affordable price or a lifestyle. But you're going to see a lot of density coming here. Van Dale and Horton both open projects. Van Dale's on Haven, Horton's on Day Creek. And they've got great communities, they're priced right, and they're selling well. And I think you're going to see more and more of that density. What we've seen a lot of was there was a move to 10s. Now the move is more 12 to an acre houses, 13 to an acre houses. I think you're going to see that move going just as a way that we as developers and builders can try to deliver the prices that your customers are looking for. Unfortunately, we're seeing costs going up dramatically. I would guess for the builders who build in our communities or apartments, costs are up somewhere between 25 and 27% over the last 4 years. And that's one of the key reasons that there's the affordability crisis. It's awfully expensive to build a new house or a new apartment or new anything in California. And certainly the tariffs, they may accomplish things for the government's overall strategy, but the tariffs have just been terrible for the real estate business. We're hearing lots of problems on just how much stuff is costing because of the tariffs. We're also seeing real challenges on the entitlement side. I mean, California's always been a difficult place to get projects entitled, but it's taking longer and longer. And one of the things that's happening that's new now is the lawsuits that are being filed. When we talk to new developers of planned communities, every person we talk to puts in a budget. We're going to get sued sometime after entitlement. We're probably going to spend $500,000 to $1 million. And it's just what's happening. And one of the groups that's doing it, this is not a political speech, but the unions are getting involved in it. They're taking advantage of something called SEQA, the Environmental Quality Act. And they're suing a lot of big projects saying, you did this wrong, you did that wrong. But of course, if you use union labor, we'll close our eyes. And so that's something I think for our assembly or state senate, we really have to work on something called SEQA legislation and reform, because it's just terrible what's happening with the lawsuits to stop really good projects. I think for our strategies going forward, they're going to be a continuation of what I've said for the last 3 years, with just a few modifications. We're really an entrepreneurial company. We're always looking for opportunities. For any of you here in the audience that have land deals, see me afterwards. We're always looking. But we're going to be a lot more cautious as we look at opportunities going forward. To try to buy deals in 2015 or 16 or 17, you had to make some pretty aggressive assumptions about inflation, and if houses are at this price now, maybe they'll be a little higher, or if the sales rates were 3 per week, 3 per month, maybe you'll get 3.5 per month. I know we're really changing our focus to say be more cautious, still be out there, still be looking, still be opportunistic, but you're going to see us be a lot more cautious going forward, just because we see something bad is going to happen 2 years from now, or 3 years from now, or 4 years from now. And in our business, when we buy a piece of land, it doesn't matter where we are in January of 2019, because in California, if we buy a piece of land, we're trying to say, where are we in 2021 or 22 or 23? So our crystal ball says still be opportunistic, but be cautious, because who knows what the world's going to be like. And when I was here in 2014 and 15, I didn't say that. We saw a lot of green lights. We saw a lot of good runway. We don't see as much of that right now. So we're being very, very cautious. Where we're not going to be cautious is in our retail group. We've got really good interest from the retailers that have survived. They want to open new centers. We're not going to be cautious in our apartment group. Almost all our new projects are 95 or 96%. So we're really going to go wild, building as many apartments as we can. And we've got an industrial group that's done very, very well. We have to say thank you to Amazon and UPS and Target and other companies like that. They're really coming out here at full force trying to open these 500,000-foot buildings to 1 million-foot buildings. And we've done very well working with them. So we're going to be very ambitious in trying to build more industrial buildings. I could talk quickly about some of the projects we're working on, not as a commercial, but people always ask us, what are you doing? Because they know it's a source of business in the future. We're working with Van Dale on a couple of projects at Haven and Church. I mentioned them earlier. They're contemporary townhouses in terms of architecture and floor plans. They've been off to a very good start. They're priced very well. And we think they're going to continue to sell well throughout 2019. We're working in Rancho Cucamonga at Foothill and Milliken. We've been doing this for a while, and it's been hard to get it right. But we're going to be doing a new apartment project that will start in 2020 at the northwest corner of Foothill and Milliken. And we're going to either do more apartments or some more condominiums at the northeast corner of Foothill and Milliken and Rancho Cucamonga in 2020. We're processing 2 projects north of Citizens Business Bank Arena that will be very high-density projects for sale, where we've got some builders that think there's going to be a market for condominiums if we could have prices in the mid-300,000 to the mid-450,000. And I think they're right. I think they're going to do very well when they open in 2020. I won't talk to you about the project that was the Empire Lakes. It's now called the Resort. But there was something he said that I thought we would get cheers in the audience, and we didn't get it. There's going to be 5 product types at the resort. There's going to be the 2 Van Dale projects, there's going to be a single-family detached project, and there's going to be an affordable condominium project. I think all of those will do well. If there's one thing certain about my presentations to Werep, is that there's going to be a question at the end, why don't you do single-level projects? Why do you ignore those? And that's what Mo said. There's going to be a project at the resort at Empire Lakes that's going to be single-level living, luxury living, with the elevators. We hope it does well. If it doesn't do well, I'm going to come back here next January and say, we listened to you guys and you let us down. But I think you're right. I think there's going to be a really big market, both from move downs from people wanting to get out of their houses that are two-story houses, or people that have a single story and just say, I don't need a 2,000 or 3,000 foot house. Give me something nice that might be 1,600 feet, but on all one level. I think that'll be really good. In Upland, we've got a couple new project communities that Lennar's going to be opening, and they'll be more affordable. They have some product in the 400,000s and the 500,000s. And I think in Upland, with that address, they're going to do very, very well. In Pomona, we're involved in 2 projects, again with Van Dale, that will have housing. I think most will be in the 500,000s. And I think in that market, they're going to do extraordinarily well there. We're going to continue in Ontario and Chino at our master plan communities. We've got some great guest builders, and there's some really exciting product they've done, and there's some exciting product that's coming. As Mo said, one of the projects is going to feature single-level living, detached single-story houses. And I'll be back here next year if they don't sell well, saying, what did you guys tell us? We're working on more projects in Fontana, Shady Trails, and a new project called the Arboretum, where Lennar is underway. Those have all enjoyed good sales, and I think they're going to enjoy good sales. We'll have quite a few new projects there. Just to the east of that in Rialto, we opened a major shopping center a few months ago called the Rialto Renaissance Marketplace. And the highlight of it is the Cinemark 14-screen movie theater. Yeah. It's got great seats in it. If you go in, you're not sure if you're in a restaurant, a bar, or a movie theater. And so it's doing great, and the whole center's doing great. The leaders in Rialto are pleased, and we're pleased, and most importantly, the retailers are pleased, because all the stores are exceeding expectations. It turned out Rialto was really underserved for shopping centers, so we're glad that it's done well. And we hope we can do more in Fontana, and hope we can do more in Rancho too. This is an underserved retail market. You just have to get the market right. I talked about industrial. We're going to do a little more industrial at the Rialto Airport. But the biggest things we're working on is near the March Air Base. That's a project called Meridian, where we've got Amazon and UPS. And we've got zoning for about 6 or 7 million more square feet of these big box industrial that will be bringing thousands of jobs to the Inland Empire. Those jobs at that project will probably come over the next 2 to 4 years. But we're really excited about what's going on there. And then something I've touched on before that's finally coming to reality is our first project in Ventura County. It's a project called Limonera. We're partnering with one of the biggest fruit and avocado, lemon and oranges and avocado companies in the United States. The project will be called Harvest, and it's tied in with the theming of this agricultural company and the heritage there. It's in the city of Santa Paula, and sales will open later this year, and we think it's going to do very well. Ventura County is probably not a good place for people like you. There's no inventory in Ventura County. There's just no supply at all. So we think in this supply-constrained market that we can, and our guest builders introduce houses that are going to do very, very well. So then what is finally a wrap up? What is it my advice for all of you going forward? I think first off is really look at the new home market. And this is not a commercial, but it is a commercial. What the builders have done is that the builders reacted in the fourth quarter, and they did not panic, but they said, you know, the market is slowing down. And almost every builder we know has made price cuts of some sort, or given incentives, or have done interest rate buy-downs. And so this is a great time to be a home buyer if you're looking at a new home. I'm not so sure it's a great time to be a home builder because they had to make some of those price cuts, but this is a great time to be a home buyer to get the houses, so I'd go there. I probably would also try to use the lesson of the new home builders with your listings. As you all know, when you've got listings that are mispriced, they're not going to sell in a market like this. And I think try to use some of that market data to make sure all of your sellers are being realistic in the pricing. The market is still going to be good, interest rates are good, but if you're stuck with listings that aren't priced right, you're going to be wasting your time and your customers' time. So really work with them on that. For your professional lives, I would say be bold as you're working. There is a lot of opportunity out there. It's going to start off to be a really good year. But I would say be cautious in your personal lives. We find for us in the real estate business, for the Lewis family, for our competitors, when you're near the end of a cycle, it's when you make a lot of investments and you say, what the heck was I thinking when I bought that house? Or why did I buy that land in that city, in that location? So I would just say, be bold in what you're doing at work, but be cautious. Doesn't mean don't invest, doesn't mean don't buy that fixer-up or that single-family rental house, but just be really prudent. And I would say tell your buyers that. There's some years I've been up here in the past, again, 15, 16, I was pretty strong saying, your buyers, if they buy a house, they're going to make money. I think if they buy a house in 19, they're going to make money too. They may not make as much money. It may take a little bit longer. I would tell them to be prudent, but I would not tell them to drop out of the market. And one reason for that is that job growth is going to continue here. It's not going to stop. And one reason is that I know what it's going to cost to produce new houses. The supply of land is just dwindling out here. There are not many orange groves left or big dairies left in Chino. We will not be able to produce prices to come in and undercut all the resales. Whatever gets built in 2020 and 21 and 22, it's going to get built at a really high cost level. So let your buyers know that. I think they're going to be okay if they buy. They just need to be smart buyers, but they probably need to be smart buyers always. And then get involved in local politics. I mean, Southern California is such a difficult place. And again, I like to single out Bill and Bill. These are guys who got involved and they've really made a difference. And in a city like Upland, a city like Montclair, you need leadership. There's so many people trying to stop business, so many people trying to stop development. We're lucky we have Mike up in Sacramento because he's outnumbered right now. But really get involved because it can make a difference. I'd like to end with just 2 points. I think the first is to say what Mo said, how much we appreciate all of your business. Hansel of our team did some checking yesterday. In our master plan communities, we paid, or our builders paid commissions on over 300 houses last year. In our apartment communities, it was well over 110 houses we paid commissions on. And we paid commissions of over $5 million to people just like you. So we welcome your business. We live on your business. You paid for my vacation to And so come to us. We will do everything we can to make it as easy for you and as easy for your customers. And lastly, on Saudi Arabia, there were 2 things I noticed that really made me feel glad to be home. It made me feel glad to be a Werep. First, as you may or may not know if you read, women are not in a place of power in Saudi Arabia. And yet when you come to Werep and look at the audience, it's pretty easy to see where their power is. And secondly, when you look at how they're governed in Saudi Arabia, they don't have elections. It's, are you related to a prince? Are you related to the king? They don't have people like Bill and Mike and Norma and Bill. And we are so lucky to live in the United States. I was thrilled. My wife was dancing when she got off the airplane. I said, I am so glad to be home. So finally, it's going to be an okay year. It may not be a great year. Be cautious, but be glad you live in the Inland Empire. This is a great place to be. Thank you very much. Q&A, don't ask about why we don't do single level houses.
Thank you, Randall. Great presentation. We are going to open up to some Q&A. We'll try to go row by row here. Ryan's got a mic here. I'll come to the other side of the room. So if you have a question for Mr. Lewis, let's please keep it appropriate, kind and gracious, as he was kind and gracious to be with us today. And we'll pass the mic on to you.
All right, first question over here.
I'd like to ask about the solar, the laws for new builders. Can you elaborate?
Yeah, I don't know enough about it other than know that our builders are saying it could add $10,000 a house. So I won't say good or bad, but I will say it's just one more thing that keeps driving the cost of housing up. So it's going to come, the new housing that gets built starting next year is going to have solar on it. It's going to drive up costs. It'll lower monthly costs. There will be some good things happening for society, but it's going to just make it tougher and tougher to qualify new home buyers.
Mr. Lewis, what from raw dirt to a finished lot ready to build on, what's the timeline for that?
Sure. Well, there's two ways to answer that. First is a master plan community developer, which we do a lot of. If we buy a big piece of land that might be 50 acres to 300 acres, we would be thrilled if we could do it in less than 3 years. We have a project, well, there was a project called Home Ranch. We got out of it after 14 years. Yeah. We have a project near Lake Paris that we've been on for 10 years. If someone bought a big piece of property today in California, you'd be thrilled to get through with 3 years or 4 years, and it probably would be 5 or 6 years. If someone bought a smaller piece of land in Upland in Montclair, someone else, if you had 5 acres to do 60 houses, I think you could get through it. Bill, could you do it in a year or not?
Today?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Because of all the pushback.
Yeah, because of the pushback, it might take 18 months or 24 months. But meanwhile, those costs keep going up 6% a year, 7% a year. That's why I told you this is a great time to be a home buyer. I'm not so sure it's a great time to be a home builder. It's not a great time to be a land developer in California. I'm real active in a group called the Urban Land Institute, and it's a national organization. And the developers in Arizona, North Carolina, and Florida laugh at the Californians. And they just say, why do you put up? Next question.
Question, are you planning to expand into Saudi Arabia, create camel estates? No. Okay, I just want to be sure of that. Cause
No, I'm going to do that. I should say, 1 minute on the Middle East. They were smart in the Middle East that they recognized that oil is a finite product and they're going to run out of it sooner or later. So places like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, in the last 20 years have really turned into Las Vegas or something. They're mega resorts drawing people from all over the world. Saudi Arabia has been really late to that dance. And so they're trying to do reforms. There's something called Saudi Arabia Vision 2030 that you should look up. It's very, very progressive. They're giving women's rights. It's going to be a good place. But for now, especially for the women in the audience, I probably wouldn't visit Saudi Arabia.
the serious question I have is that I understand you cannot predict past 6 months.
Yeah.
But assuming that we do reach the end of this cycle, is it, if it does start to wane rather, are you going to reduce the amount of residential building but continue with that pace more likely in high concentration of condominiums and apartments? Or is that even going to slow down in the second half of 2019?
Whenever it slows down, probably job formation will slow down, buyer interest will slow down. I should say, as a family, some of our best years have been in the bad years because we normally wait a year or two. You know, they don't ring a bell when the cycle ends or starts, you don't know. But typically in the bad years, we wait a year or two, and then we make a lot of good land purchases that will help us when the cycle comes back. So we're very entrepreneurial. We're not waiting for the downturn. We don't want it to come, but we know it is going to come sooner or later. And about a year out, to make a lot of purchases. We're committed to the Illinois buyer.
Next question. I'm wondering if you have any comments on the recent state ADU changes, or which is in auxiliary dwelling units, and if you have any plans to do kind of duplex residential because of that.
Yeah. What the question refers to is it's now gotten easier to do granny flats or building a little place in your backyard. And I think it's great. I know there's someone, Steve Pontel, who lives in this area, works with National Corps, and he's been on this, though he hasn't figured out how to make money at it. But there's so many 7,200-foot lots in this area, so many 10,000-foot lots where you could build an ADU. And so we knew people that are trying to come up with maybe 3 floor plans where they could go to homeowners and say, do you want a little 800-foot place? Do you want a 900-foot or 1,100-foot? We'll build it for you, use a standardized plan, and then let them rent it out as a source of income. So I think it's a good thing, and it's a way to get housing where it's most needed. For our company, it just doesn't fit with the model of what we do. So I think the ADU is a great opportunity. It's just not one we will pursue.
You put together a magnificent plan for 3,600 homes in the East Highland area, and it was called, or it still is called, Harmony.
That's correct.
It's been a battle with the neighbors and the environmental world. What does the future look like for Harmony?
The future of Harmony is uncertain, I have to say that. It was a really controversial project, so it's bad to be a developer in Southern California. We did some polling, and probably 55% of the polling supported it. Probably 45% said we don't want it. There were environmental groups that said we don't want it. And the unions came out. And we had a union come up to us and say, your problems would go away if you use all union labor, which we can't control because we don't build the houses. Harmony's future will be decided this year. I don't know if it'll happen or not. We think it was a good project. We think it is a good project, but it is very uncertain what will happen to it. We don't own the property. We are working on behalf of the landowner. We put in blood, sweat, and tears for about 6 years, but it is uncertain what will happen to that project.
Question here. I'm really excited about the single-story houses you'll be building in Fontana. And I want to ask you, Harvest at Upland, will that be a gated community? Will you have any single stories in there? And when are you expected to open that?
Sure. Harvest and Upland is a gated community. There will be no single-level housing there. Andy, when will sales start?
April.
Sales will start by NAR and 2 prototypes in April.
We already have Kate.
Yeah. KB, oh, sure. KB is just finishing. KB has had a very successful project in Upland and Harvest. They're at the tail end. They probably have 15 or 16 houses left. So there's a good opportunity to buy there also. Next question.
Randall, the question back here is there any plan to take any of the apartments and convert them to condos in the future?
What we're doing as a family and company is putting in the ability to convert them, but we have no plans to do it. I wouldn't say we won't convert them ever. I'm highly confident we won't convert them in 5 years or 10 years and probably 20 years. Beyond that, it'll be up to my kids and nieces and nephews. So we have the ability to convert them, but we have no intention of converting them now. Next question.
Well, Randall, last time you spoke, you had mentioned on the 15 freeway at Duncan Canyon Road that there was a development in process. What's the status on that as far as that shopping center?
Well, the shopping center, the city owns that property if it's what was known as the Fontana project. I think the city of Fontana is just sitting on it right now. You could ask them. But my understanding, they tied it up with another developer. They were not able to pull anything off. And the city is saying, let's wait till they get some more houses up there. We are doing a project next to it called the Arboretum that will have over 3,000 dwelling units. It'll take more than that, but it also, that project won't live or die on what we do. It's on a freeway, it's a great location. My guess is something will open on that property maybe 4 or 5 years from now. Nothing's going to happen in 2019.
Randall? Sorry about that. One of the big issues facing California is our housing power to defeat Prop 10, which would have expanded rent control. The issue is one of affordability for our new families coming in. Their wages are not enough to, they're good, but they're not enough to buy the product that's out there. What can we all collectively do to try to get a more affordable product on the market so our young families can start to build wealth, equity, stabilize our schools and communities, and move up the ladder so that there's going to be a move-up product at some point in the future. They start here, here, and then here.
Great question, and if there's a council person in the Inland Empire who's done as much as Bill, I don't know. I mean, Bill has been a champion for housing, so thank you. He will be a champion. He just hasn't. He's been on the job a week, so he hasn't. The question is, what can we do to help with affordability? And it is a great question. There's a lot of things to do. First is just supply. And it's all of us who studied economics know when supply goes up, prices go down. And so if we had more supply, that would make a big difference. And you see in the markets that you deal with, if there's 100 listings, it's a lot harder to sell in a city than if there's 20 listings. So getting more supply. I think the second thing is being more realistic on density. And again, I've talked a lot about density because when you're dealing with all these expenses, it's one of the only ways to bring prices down. A council person or a planning commissioner, and someone says, I want to do 10-acre houses or townhouses, you're going to have 50 people coming to planning commission meetings, coming to council meetings with signs that say, November 2020, we're going to vote you out of office. So I think we have to create a YIMBY, yes in my backyard movement, especially starting with the younger people, to say we want to stay in our communities. And we don't have the political will yet, but it's so easy to stop the projects. That would be number 2. I think number 3 that we're really grappling with is trying to understand parking. Parking right now is like master bedroom, closet space. You never have enough. But we know as we drive, going to a world of more Ubers and autonomous cars and households where there may be 1 person or 2 person, the parking is going to change going forward. And so I think a lot of the planning groups are trying to say, how do you bridge that gap on new communities to say, we're pretty sure the parking is going to be a lot lower 5 or 10 years from now, but the customer is going to move in tomorrow, so it's got to work. That's one we don't have an answer to. And then, Bill, I think in a community like yours, I know Pomona's doing this, Rancho's doing it, Upland will, I hope, be doing it. There's a lot of retail centers on great locations that ought to be torn down and turned into mixed-use communities where they could have a Starbucks or a Jamba Juice and 100 townhouses. We've got the retailers, Brady Mansky's, and everybody knows this better than I do. The retailers, there's the flight to quality. They want to be in the very best centers. They want to be in the very best locations. So if in your community you see a retail center, and it could be a 3-acre store center or a 10-acre center where some of the stores are closed, the reality, those should be repurposed. I also think that what you're going to see coming here that's happened in the San Gabriel Valley, a lot of the development in the San Gabriel Valley now is taking an old bowling alley or taking an old industrial building or taking something old that might have been on 4 acres or 6 acres and just realizing that it's not its best economic value. So I think looking at each community and saying, how can you repurpose property that may be economically and functionally obsolete is another way to get supply.
Thank you so much for being here, Randall, and providing us with such valuable information. The question I have kind of ties in with the single-story concept. A lot of us are getting older, and just wondering if you have or will you be building a 55 and older community?
We're looking at that now, and again, we probably wouldn't be building it. We would zone something for some of our builders to do. In Northern California, we're in a city called Lincoln, and right now we've got 2 builders looking at about 100 acres there to do an age-restricted community. So that will be our first experience with trying to do something like that. As people look at the 55 market, there's 2 ways that you can attack it. One is what's called the age-targeted, and one is called the age-qualified. So age-qualified is where they say you have to be 55. And that's a big commitment, because if you miss it, you miss it. I think what you'll see out here, what a lot of people may do, is try to do more age-targeted stuff. And in a way, those 3-story homes in the resort with elevators, I think that's going to be age-targeted. And I'd be very surprised if we didn't get a large number of people going there over 55. So looking to the market, not just for us, but our competitors, look for a lot of age-targeted project coming up here. Look for some age-qualified. I don't think you're going to see it in a big way. Lennar, I believe, is going to open one this year in Ontario, and that'll be a good test to see how it does. So they're coming, but they're coming a little slower than they probably should.
Randall, you mentioned in the Renaissance in Rialto, you have a couple million-plus square foot buildings. Also in at March Air Force Base, you have 5 or 6 million square feet coming. What's driving the demand for that? Is it sustainable? And is there any fear that we could overbuild for industrial space?
Good question. First, what's driving it? What's driving it is the 300 people in this room that all shop on Amazon or all order stuff from UPS. And so it's all of you. And so what these are, they're not warehouse centers anymore. They're not factories. They're logistics centers. They're distribution centers. So, and it's weird how many ways you can slice that market. I mean, Amazon has a lot of different kinds of buildings. They do. Amazon has buildings just for the returns, for example. What do you do with all the stuff that gets shipped back? There are other people in these buildings. Stuff comes off the port, the ships at the ports, and then they come out here, and in some cases they're just distribution, they get handled, but in some cases they do something to it. So right now there's an insatiable demand for these big boxes. I would say it could get overbuilt, but the good news in Southern California, there's not that many pieces left. Ontario's almost out of land for it. Rialto's almost out of land for it. Fontana's almost out of land for it. So I think the supply-demand balance will be taken care of just because we're running out of land. But there's huge demand, and if anything, it's just going to get bigger and bigger for these big logistics centers.
Thank you, Randall.
I think we may have gone through all of the Q&A. I went through the entire room. Crystal, one more question. Do we have 2 more? Please go right ahead.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Pomona. I've been there for 42 years selling dilapidated shopping centers. And so my question to you is what's your take on opportunity zones?
Opportunity zones are something everyone's trying to study. And it was legislation that came out of Washington that gives some real tax incentives if you invest money in certain areas. I think it's going to go slowly at the beginning because we're all still trying to figure it out. I think in the long run it will be a good thing, and it will bring investment to the places that are needed most. There's a real market now just doing seminars how to make money on opportunity zones. So it's coming. I don't think you'll see a lot of stuff in 2019, but I think you'll see a lot of things in 2020 on opportunity zones.
Okay, I think that's it. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Randall Lewis.
I just want to sincerely thank you for all the business, but also sincerely thank you for inviting me back here. And I know you all have a lot to do, and it thrills me when I come here, so keep inviting me back. I love speaking to you. Thank you.
Randall Lewis and Kevin Cisneros here. Just want to thank Randall and the Lewis Group of Companies and all that attended the event today. It was a great event. You did a great job, great information, great presentation. But thank you to those who attended today at the West End Real Estate Professionals. I hope that you found the information valuable, and we look forward to having you here each and every Friday at 8:30 a.m. And thanks again to Randall Lewis. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.